joining us today. I'm Roy Ketchum, a faculty member from Hispanic Studies Department and Latino Latin American Studies program. I have the special privilege today of introducing Lorena Rofe, who will join us. So first, I just want to say this wouldn't at all be possible without the great support of the Center for Global Education. So Lorena teaches in our program in Guatemala. And actually, the reason that we know Lorena at all, Nicole Clements, assistant director of the Center for Global Education, you may or may not remember, but she sent me, as a first-time director in 2012, a little note saying, somebody told me about some thing going on in Shela where your program is, you might be interested. Well, that thing happened to be the second encuentro de Teatro del Oprimido de Latinoamérica, hosted by Lorena Rofe and her organization Me Toca in Shela, Quetzaltenango. They brought 400 theater press practitioners from across Latin America, Europe, and elsewhere. They all, and the United States. They all converged on Shela, Quetzaltenango. They were housed, fed, and did workshops in a school of not maybe the best conditions.
You're gonna say that.
Yeah. The school was turned over to Me Toca and their volunteers 72 hours before the arrival of 400 people. And they cleaned, organized, and made it a place that was appropriate to house all these people, feed them, and do workshops. It was about 10 days, I think.
Yeah, well, I have to say that all the students were big help. All the Minnesota students were cleaning all the bathrooms with really happy faces and very, like, we are contributing to this encounter to happen. It was amazing. We were all very impressed about the students.
So this was our first encuentro, our first contact with Lorena and her organization. Since then, we talked to her about teaching a course in Guatemala for our program, and since 2013 she's been doing that, so this would be the 4th year, I think, that we just completed. This encuentro that's happening here this week, starting with Lorena's arrival and culminating on Monday the 10th, I'd like to point out how it's a kind of convergence of the things that first a convergence of global learning and life on campus, but also an interesting meeting place between the things that we ordinarily think of as academic learning and the things that we think of as the terrain of student development or the holistic development of the person. And in that spirit, I also want to point out that we have some great support from Brandon Woodard at the Center for the Intercultural International Student Services Office. They've been doing some great work kind of behind the scenes. This flyer that you've seen around, which we're pretty pleased with the graphics, was a lot related to their work over there. And also just the connections with different folks on campus. If you see on here, there's, at last count, I think there were 10 different either clubs or organizations on campus that are supporting or contributing in some way. So in addition to those I've already mentioned, ELAC, Latin American Studies Program, Hispanic Studies, the Spanish Club, both campus ministries, Center for Global Education, and both senates have all been involved in some way or another to be able to bring Lorena here and support the students from the 2016 group, now calling themselves RAD, and you'll hear more about that later, to be able to bring this experience to all of you. So I mentioned this, the other two main events are on the 9th and the 10th, 6:30 on the 9th at St. Ben's and 6:15 on the 10th over here at Brother Willie's. So we'd encourage you to think about that. What Lorena's going to talk about today in a more theoretical way, you'll see it in practice on those days. And with that, I'll just say another brief word. Lorena comes from Argentina to us by way of Guatemala and many other places along the way, I think. She's a community activist and theater practitioner. She's the founders of Me Toca being Multiplicación y Exploración del Teatro del Oprimido de Centroamérica, but also Me Toca is it's my turn in Spanish. So she brings this methodology to community organizations and works with them to combat the social injustice in their lives. And she also trains other facilitators at the regional level. With that, muchas gracias por haber venido.
So the idea today is to know a little bit, to have an introduction for what Theater of the Oppressed is. One thing that we work a lot on Theater of the Oppressed is demechanization. What can it mean? What sounds like what? Demechanization. Mechanization is like things that we do all the time, all the routines that we have, all the reactions and actions that we do in a mechanic way that we don't decide anymore. We just do. We don't choose to do them. We just react this way because we are acostumbrados. Right. Because we are accustomed to do them, right? But we believe that one of the aim of Theater of the Oppressed is to change reality, to transform reality, and we cannot transform reality if we keep doing the same things. We have to start doing different things. We have to have this process of demechanization, to stop doing things mechanically and to decide, choose, and create different ways of acting and reacting. So for starting with demechanization, I will invite all of you to stand up, and we are going to have a demechanization of the talk. And we are going to go out from their chairs and come here, please. And we are going to start with something very simple. And please, if at any point you don't understand, you can just say, ah! Okay? And I will try to explain it again. Right? Or I will ask many of the Spanish speakers here to help. So, we are going to start with a very simple exercise. Who can be a volunteer for showing it? Someone? Oh, yeah. So, what we are going to do, we are going to shake our hands and to introduce ourselves. I'm Lorena. Kazia. And we are going to say also what did we dream about, what did we want it to be when we were kids.
Okay, Kazia veterinarian.
And I wanted to be a flight attendant.
Okay.
Okay? And now I will go to look for someone else, and I cannot leave Kazia's hand till I have another hand. Okay? And I will do the same. I will introduce myself and we will share what our dreams were. Okay? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes? Let's go. Now, for going, what do you have to do? What does she have to do to leave my hand?
Take another one.
Take another one. Okay? Come on. Let's go. You start shaking one hand. 1, 2, 3. So, hello. I'm Lorena.
Icebreaker.
Icebreaker. I want to ask something. Who here is an actor or an actress? Okay, we're going to do some theater and we have only one actor. Well, actually it's not true. In Theater of the Oppressed, we believe that everyone is an actor and an actress. So we believe that we are all actors and actors and actresses. And you can ask, like, what are you meaning? I never played, I never studied theater, I'm not an actor, I'm not an actress. And actually we believe that yes, because one of the things that differentiates us from the animals is that we have the ability to look at ourselves. We are aware of our acts. We can see how we are acting. I know now that I'm in front of all of you, that I'm making the effort for you to understand me, and it's not the same. I'm not acting the same when I'm with my kid at home. Right? And you as well, you're trying to feel comfortable with this kind of weird talk, and you are not the same than when you go to the bank to ask for a loan, or when you go and have some good time with your friends. So we are all acting, all the time, every day. We are aware of that, and we are deciding how are we going to act. So if we have this ability in life, we can have it on stage as well. So we are all actors and actresses, we can all raise our hands. And also because we believe that we have to take this protagonist role in our lives. We have to be the protagonist role in the scene of our lives. So we are all actors and actresses, and said that, we are going to do another exercise. And I will explain, and then we are going to do all together. So we are going to we are all going to face out from the circle. I will explain, and we are going to do it after. And I will say a word, and I will count till 3, and you have to turn into the circle and represent this word, okay? But it's not that you have to reproduce it. You don't have to make like a photo of the word. You have to represent what it makes you feel. Okay? Let's try an example all together. Let's say I say dog. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we have different things. We have many of us being a dog, right? But we have different we were related to a dog, right? There were some that were like that, I was afraid. So let's go, we can represent the dog, but let's try more to work on what that provokes to us, how it makes us feel, okay? If I think about the dog, okay, how do I feel with the dog? Now how do I show that there's a dog, okay? Ready? Okay, so, home. 1, 2, 3, home. And of course, it's not good and bad. All the ideas are good, are all legitimate. Okay? And we can, from where we are, we can see each other, what's home, what things are similar and different between one and another. Okay? And we go back. And we go with education. 1, 2, 3. Let's look at the others, at our expressions, our body, professor, students, different points of view. Okay, go back. Now we go with religion. 1, 2, 3. We look at each other. Okay, that's a religion for this group. Let's go back. And we will go with Latin America. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. We can see each other. Let's look around. What's Latin America for all of us, for different points of view? What's Latin America? Okay, we go back. And now it's United States. 1, 2, 3. Look around. What's this country for each one in here? Okay, very good. Let's go. And now we go with theater. What's theater? 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's look at each other, and we will remember. We keep this one, okay? Remember each one of you what you do in theater, okay? That's theater. Okay, go. And now we go with activism. 1, 2, 3. Activism. Activism. We remember what did we do for theater? We remember activism. Okay, we go back. And now we go with politics. Politics. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we look at each other. Politics. Okay, and we keep this one as well. So, now we're going to see the sequence. Let's go with theater. Everyone, theater, what you did? Theater, and we look. And activism. And politics. Okay, and again, what's theater? And now from there, we are going to see, what do we see? What's in theater? Action.
Expression.
Expression.
Heart.
Heart.
Open.
Open. It's something open.
Voice.
Voice.
Movement.
Movement.
Eyes.
Eyes.
Motivation.
Motivation. Okay. And
Art.
arts. All of this is in our bodies when we say theater. Let's go to activism. What do we see?
Straight.
What?
Straight.
Straight.
Power.
Power. Action.
Change.
Change.
Courage.
Courage.
People.
People.
Commitment.
Commitment. I see stepping forward. Many of us are stepping forward.
Unified.
Unified. What do we see in the bodies?
Energy.
Energy.
Fire.
Fire.
Confidence.
Confidence. Okay, let's go to politics. Okay. What do we see?
Reserved.
Headache.
Headache.
Activism.
What?
Activism.
Activism.
Boredom.
What?
Boredom.
Boredom.
Shaking hands.
Uh-huh. I see the bodies occupying less space. I see when in theater we are like that, we are more like that. We are occupying less space. What else?
Doubt.
Doubt. What? Debate. Debate. Some like worried faces, not happy faces. Okay, very good. Now we are going to we are going to pass from one to another, and we are going to try to check what's happening in our body when we go from one image to the other. And also, meanwhile we are doing these transitions, we are going to see also in the others what's happened in others' bodies. Okay? So let's start with theater. Theater, and slowly we are changing to activism. changing to activism. Changing to activism. And we are in activism. And slowly, we are going to change to politics. Okay, what happened? What did you see? What did you feel? What changed from one to another?
I felt myself closing off.
What?
I was like closing off.
Closing on.
Not the same for everybody.
It's not the same for everybody. What did you feel?
Well, for me, they're seamless. Politics is not negative.
Something else that you saw, that you felt in the transitions?
Extrovert, introvert.
Okay. So, this is a simple exercise to say that in Theater of the Oppressed, we believe that they are connected. That theater can provoke activism, that activism is a way of doing politics, so theater is our aesthetic way of doing politics. And we believe that all this space that we can fill and that we can occupy doing theater, we can also occupy doing being activists, welcome, and doing politics. So that was our short aesthetic debate about theater, activism, and politics. Now we can go back to our chairs. Okay, so Theater of the Oppressed, right? What does it mean, Theater of the Oppressed? So theater, because it's an aesthetic, it's an artistic way. And of the oppressed, it means that we have this political position, okay? So it's an aesthetic way to do politics. We defend our political position through this artistic way. And it's theater of the oppressed, and for that, I want to tell you a short story. And this story, it happened, who created the method, it's called Augusto Boal. He was born in Brazil, and he was a very active theater director and very engaged in social struggles in Brazil. And he has this theater company of mainly white, middle class, mainly men, that they were very engaged and very furious about all the injustice that was going on in Brazil. And they had this theater play those theater plays that they were denouncing and expressing all this anger? Yeah, anger. Sí, todo este enojo, anger, for the situations that were taking place there. So they had this play about the land and the landowners taking all the land and the peasants that cannot get to have a land for work and living. And they decided to go to the countryside and present this theater play in front of the peasants. And the play, well, they presented, they were very good actors, very good company, and they usually finished their play with a song, like with lots of passion, saying, "Let us spill our blood for freedom, let us spill our blood for land." And, you know, it was like the climax of the theater piece. And, well, all the peasants were very, very excited, and they were very impacted by the fact that those white middle-class men from the city came all the way to their land to say, "Let's spill our blood for freedom, let's spill our blood for land." And there's this man that came to Augusto Boal, to the director, and say, he came with tears in the eyes,
and say, I can't believe it. I can't believe that you came all the way from there to share our struggle, that you came and you are supporting us. That's really amazing. And Boal was like, yeah, we know, we are very engaged. And then he said, well, now that you are ready and we are ready and we agree, let's go, let's have lunch, because we have to eat. And after lunch, we will take our weapons, you take your weapons, and we go and we take the land from the owner. And then Boal was like, how to explain you? The weapons are not really weapons. They are like cardboard weapons. And Virgilio, and Boal says he will never forgive this name, Virgilio told him, well, so what are they for if they are cardboard weapons? Well, no, because we are very genuine actors, and we want to be genuine also with the weapons and to express all our solidarity. Okay, well, doesn't matter. Let's eat, and after eat, we give you weapons because we have enough, and let's go take the land from the owner. And then Boal says like, well, we believe that it has to be done, but we don't know how to fight. And he said, okay, no, stop. I understand. When you say, let us spill our blood for freedom from the land, it's our blood that you're talking about, and not yours. And Boal wanted to explain, and he just went out. And from there, he understood that he cannot keep doing it. He cannot keep going and telling people what to do. And at the same time, the Che Guevara was in Latin America as well, and was a phrase that was that he related to this situation, that he said that solidarity is taking the same risks. And he says, well, if I'm not taking the same risk, I cannot say that. So I will not do anymore any theater that is saying people what to do if I'm not ready to do that, okay? If I'm not ready to take this same risk. So from then on, Theater of the Oppressed started. It started as a theater that doesn't say to people what to do. It's a theater that it comes from the oppressed, that it's played by the oppressed, and that it's for the interest of the oppressed. Okay? And what he was developing was this methodology to help the oppressed to make their struggles, but their own struggles, not the struggles that he thought that they have to do. Yeah? So we are talking about oppression. So that's what's interesting from the methodology, that actually it's not a methodology that was created in Boal, locked in the room, thinking what can be the best methodology to work with the oppressed. It was created, and it's developing, and it's still developing by reacting to concrete situations, as Virgilio, concrete needs, as different things that we will see later. So it's a very pedagogical method. It's a very pedagogical way of developing this method. Okay, it's all the time in dialogue with reality. And we are talking of Theater of the Oppressed, and you can ask, so what's oppression for you? And that's what we understand in Theater of the Oppressed as oppression. Oppression as a relationship where it's one social group over another. It's not a thing of particulars. Okay, we understand society as social groups that are dominating another one, that are taking from another one what it belongs to. Okay, or that it's impeding others from what they desire. Okay, and also it's important to understand what is oppressed, because many times it's like, no, what's the oppressed? That's depressing. That's sad. It's like it's people that's miserable and victims, and no, for us, oppressed it's a person that is suffering and injustice, and it's aware that it's not fair where he's living or she's living, and that is ready to fight for it, okay? So it's not that she or he has the solution, but she or he, they have the willing of changing it, even if they don't know how, but they believe that this situation has to be changed, okay? If it's people living in poverty, that they believe that that's the way it is and you cannot change it, they are not oppressed because they accept this status quo, they accept reality, and they are not going to fight for changing it. So for us, oppressed is this person that it's aware that it's living something that is not fair and it's willing to change it. So we have, for explaining more about the methodology, we have this image. What do you see here? A tree, yes! So what are the characteristics of the tree? What do you see in this tree, in any tree? Branches, leaves, roots, flowers, soil, trunk, moisture, moisture, So all of that is in this image of the methodology of Theater of the Oppressed. We choose this image to show the methodology because it is something that is alive. It's something that is changing, like the beautiful trees in Minnesota, that they are changing the color. It's something that is permanent, that it has its roots on the soil, but it's also something that it's, that adapts itself to the context, to the weather, to the pollination. It adapts itself. So the same is for the methodology. It's something that it's alive, that it has this permanency, but also it has this ability of transformation, yeah, of adapting to context and transformation. So in this tree, the soil has to be very fertile, yeah, very rich. So that's why we have to have all of these things into the soil. When we start working in a process of Theater of the Oppressed, we have to be aware and we have to research what's the history of this situation, what's the philosophy that goes with that, what's the kind of participation that people can have, and how the politics are related to this situation. And on the base of this soil is the ethics and solidarity. And ethics not as moral, not as these like social agreements that many times they are not fair and they are not good. Ethics as this utopia that we have for a better world. So we have to have this on the soil of every process of Theater of the Oppressed that we do. And also solidarity. Solidarity, as we say, that's taking the same risks, and also solidarity as the links, the alliances, between different groups for struggling against an oppression. It's not the good one helping the poor one. It's people that want to struggle, they go together and they struggle together at the same level. And on the base, the sap of the tree will be the aesthetic of the oppressed. And we will ask, like, what's aesthetic of the oppressed? Well, because we live in a world where what domains is the aesthetic of the oppressor, right? We are all surrounded by images and sounds and words that goes towards the interest of the oppression system. So we have, if we want to transform, we have to reinvent that. We have to change the music, the sounds, the words, the image that we see all around to start transforming reality. So for Boal liked to talk about the invasion of the brain, that our brains are all invaded by this aesthetic of the oppressor. So we have to start to create, we need to create another aesthetic, our aesthetics, the aesthetics of the oppressed. And of course, this is the exercise of freedom, right? Exercising, creating, having all these processes, exercising freedom. So, aesthetic of the oppressed is the sap of the tree. I like this word, I learned it today. So it's the sap of the tree. It goes all around the trunk, the branches, to the flowers. It is in every step of the process. We have to be aware of this aesthetic of the oppressed. We are not going to do a theater play with a young group reproducing these telenovelas. How do you say?
Soap opera.
The soap operas, you know, because that's aesthetic of the oppressor. We are going to create another aesthetic to create our play. And aesthetics, we focus on sound, images, and words. So if we go up on the trunk, we meet the games. Games, as we started playing, exercises to demechanization, and they are always going to be games that go for integration. We are not going to go for competition in a theater of the oppressed process, because it's exactly what we don't want to reinforce. We have enough in the world. And we divide these games in different categories for exploring different ways to expand ourselves through this demechanization. So we have the first one, which is feeling what we touch. We touch without thinking about touching, without being aware of what we are touching, without reflecting of what we are touching. So first games will be for feeling, touching but feeling, deciding to feel what we touch. Then the second one is listen to what we hear. The same, we hear lots of things, but we are not listening. So having the intention to understand, to feel, to reflect of what we are hearing. The third one will be dynamizing several senses. And the fourth one, seeing what we look at, all the time exploring the same things. And the fifth one will be the memory of the senses. So, after the games, what was developed was image theater, which was born when Boal was working with the indigenous communities in Bolivia and Peru. And they talked their indigenous language, and it was translated to Spanish, and from Spanish to Portuguese, that was Boal's language. And he started feeling that they were not understanding each other, that even if they were translating all this way, it was something that was missing. That when indigenous people were saying family, and it became family in Spanish, and then it became family in Portuguese, it has a completely another meaning. And as we saw in the exercise there, the same word, it has very different meanings to all of us. We can say politics, yeah, we understand politics, but now we understand very different things about what politics is. So for working with this group, and then he used it as a methodology to work with many other groups, even speaking the same language, he created the image theater. So as we did there, talking and having a debate through images, not using the words that many times don't help. And then he arrived to forum theater. And forum theater also was created by a situation that happened, and now I will tell you another short story. And this one happened when he was in Peru. They were already changing. He was already not telling people what to do, he developed what he called simultaneous dramaturgy. Yeah? So what happened was he was asking the audience, what's the problem that you want to talk about? And explain us the situation, and then the theater troupe were representing the problem till the point that they don't know what to do. And then the audience should say to the actors what to do and that's French, to rehearse different solutions for this problem. So, and they became popular in this town in Peru. And then it was this woman that came to Boal and said, well, I know that you work with very political and big problems, but I have a problem that I really don't know how to resolve, and it's not politics, but I really want to see if you can help me. And he was like, well, if I can help, I will do that. Tell me what your story is. And she started and said, well, the thing is that my husband, and he said, okay, it's already a political issue, because husband is a social contract, and it's not your particular story, that it's coming into a social issue. So keep going. Okay, well, the thing is that my husband, he works as a mason, see? He works as a mason, and he's away many times, and he's asking me for money. He was asking me for money for building our house, and I was giving him all my savings every time, and he's building our house. And sometimes he bring me those receipts that were very, very nice handwriting, and they were scented even, and I was keeping all the receipts under my bed, and I was asking him, well, when can I go and see the house that you're building? No, wait, it's a surprise. You will see when it's done. Okay, I was waiting, but one day we had this big fight a couple of days ago, and I was so mad at him, and I didn't understand why it's taking so long, the construction of our house, that we fight. He left the house, and I took all the receipts, and I went to my neighbor, because I don't know how to read, but I asked my neighbor to read what the receipt says. And then I discovered that they were letters from his lover. So that's what he was building all this time. And now he's going to come. Tomorrow he comes back from work, and I don't know what to do. So, well, I'll say, okay, let's try. It is an enough interesting story to work on. So the actors, they do all the scene, they come the husband, talk, and what can we do? And then the audience. And there's one in the audience that says, well, she has to say that he has to leave, okay? She says that. Okay, so the actress and the husband come, talk, okay, go away, I don't want to see you anymore. And the actor that was doing the husband, he said, well, great, I just got my pay, I will go with my lover. Okay, that didn't really work. He will try another one. The audience, another one said, okay, no, she has to do the opposite. She has to leave the house. Okay, they start again, talk. You know what, I'm leaving. Great, I will call my lover, and we are coming to live in here. Well, it was kind of hard, and then he saw that this was this big woman that it was becoming very nervous, and she became red, and Boal was looking at her, and he said, well, it seems like you have something to say, so share with us. No, well, what she has to do is to have a very clear conversation with him. Okay, Boal was a bit disappointed. He expected something more juicy. So let's go, let's have a clear conversation. So talk. Okay, come, I want to explain. I feel very betrayed and disappointed. And okay, no, my love, I'm not going to do it anymore. Okay, I'm very tired. Please bring me my supper. Okay, and the woman was furious. And she says, no, and Boaz say, well, that's what you wanted, no? No, it's not what I wanted. But you're a man and you're not open to listen to women's ideas. I'm saying something else. I'm saying that she has to have a very clear conversation with him. Well, I think that that's what we did, but let's try it again. He talked with the actress. He said, okay, have a very clear conversation. Okay, take your time, explain him everything. Oh, okay. So talk. He came, and okay, I want to explain you in the deep of my heart. I felt na. Okay, my love, I won't do it anymore. Please bring me my supper. And the woman was standing up, about to leave the place. And Boaz say, wait, I really don't understand. What do you want? No, you're not doing what I'm saying. Okay, do you want to come and try yourself? And she was like, may I? Yes, come, try. And she came into the stage and talk. Come. She took a broom and she starts hitting him all over, hitting, till the actor was like, stop, I'm not the real husband, please. And there she said, okay, and now she says, and now I'm tired, you go and bring me supper. And that's the way forum theater was created, was about understanding that it's the oppressed, the people that live the situation, that have to come and rehearse their strategies for changing reality. That is not enough that in this way, when the audience says to other people that is not living the same oppression to react, they will not understand. So it's the oppressed that have to rehearse these strategies because it's for changing their own very real situation. So then we have newspaper theater that was created during the censorship in Brazil. It was a way to show what the mass media was not saying. So they worked with the titles of the newspapers, and they were revealing through theater pieces what the mass media was hiding. So it was a way to increase the awareness of what was happening. Then it was another branch of theater of the oppressed is the Rainbow of Desire. Then Boal was exiled from Brazil to Argentina, from Argentina to Portugal, from Portugal to France. And then in France, he kept developing the method. But when he goes to European people and asks, what's the problem? What's your oppressor? They say, well, no, the problem is that I want to leave my husband, but I can't. And okay, who's saying that you can't? No one, but I can't. And where? And he used to ask, but where is the policeman? Because in Latin America, he was very used that the oppressor is the military force, the policeman, and she said, no. Okay, so then he started to understand that they were policies in their head. Okay, this technique is called cops in the head, and it's about all the oppressions that are already internalized. That even we don't see this oppression, we have it inside, and we have to fight as well. Another one was invisible theater. It was during the dictatorship in Argentina. That it was not possible to do any kind of political theater. So if they wanted to open a debate about something that was happening in Argentinian society, they did it, but as invisible theater. What does it mean? They create a scene, for example, in the metro, in the public transportation, and no one knows that it's a scene besides the group of actors and actresses. And they put on a debate of the theme that they want to talk about in a static way, but without people knowing that it's theater. But the aim was achieved. People were talking about what was happening. And last branch is legislative theater. That is something that is going to happen also in this university with the play of RAD. And it's a step forward from forum theater. In forum theater, the people from the audience comes into stage and proposes strategies to resolve this situation specific. Then in theater, in legislative theater, we go a step forward and we ask also the audience to write and propose different laws, normatives, actions, demonstrations that can change the structural problem. Not only this woman with this husband, but the illiteracy of women in poor countries, for example. That is also part of this problem. Yeah? So then people give their proposals, and there's a specific group with, that has to do with this problem that will analyze and will come with a selection of proposals that really believe that they can change something about the situation. And then the audience will vote if they want the group to go forward and try to make it happen or not. Okay? And all of that because what we want, actually, the aim of Theatre of the Oppressed is to have concrete and continuous social actions. It's not about debating and staying here in the debate, in the stage. It's to changing reality, okay? And for that, we need social actions that are concrete and that are continuous. It's not one action. It's many of them lasting in time. Okay, and then we have, for that also, those birds that go and multiplicate the method that go to another places and plant the seed of Theatre of the Oppressed and make this same tree grow. And also, it's very important to have the organization. We cannot go to concrete and continuous social actions just as a theater group by ourselves. We have to have connection with another social movements that want to do the same struggle. So, now, me toca. Let's see who remembers what does it mean. Me toca what? My turn, yeah. It's my turn to do something. And I will help you. It's multiplication and exploration of Theatre of the Oppressed in Central America. So, after showing you all the method, I will tell you a little bit of what we do in Central America with this methodology. So, we work on two main strategies. One is exploring and working continuously with groups of oppressed people, and another one is this multiplication. We discovered 8 years ago that it was almost nothing about Theatre of the Oppressed in Central America, and we cannot do everything and work with every group, so we were training people in 5 countries to work with oppressed groups. So it means it's my turn to act, and also it means me toca, it touches me. Reality touches me, and that's why we act. So we do many forum theater pieces. This one is a forum theater piece of indigenous youth that we're debating about youth pregnancies. And what interesting experience that we had was presenting this forum theater piece to health workers. And they were very experienced about what to do about youth pregnancy. So it was one woman that said, okay, what we need to do is going and talking with their parents, okay, about birth control. So, okay, great, come. She came into stage. She enters this indigenous house of Kaqchikel people with a condom in her hand. And she says, well, I want to talk with you about birth control and they were answering in Cachiquel, in their indigenous language. I was, well, I want to explain you about the condom, and they were keep talking in Cachiquel. And she was desperate, and she said, whoa, it's not fair, they're not speaking Spanish. So it was very revealing about the lack of adaptation of the health services in Guatemala. You're working with indigenous people and getting mad because they speak their own language, right? And another one say, no, what you have to do is to talk with the youth people and explain them how to have this birth control. Okay, come. She came, she has this couple of young people. She started saying, well, you know when you feel these butterflies? You know butterflies, when you feel the butterflies? And they were like, yes. Well, when you feel butterflies, you have to take care, okay? So, butterfly, take care. Okay. And that was her idea of talking clearly with the youth people, you know? So, it is a big difference, there is a big difference between what you say there and when you go into stage, because two ideas were great, talking with the parents, talking with the youth people, but what do you mean? And what are the obstacles to reach this idea that you have? So we had experience with this group. We present forum theater pieces in every place. That's on the street. That's with migrants with no documents in the frontier of Mexico, and they were representing the forum theater play in front of all the NGO staff that works with migrants. That's another one with people with disabilities. That's HIV positive people playing about, having a debate about HIV services in the hospital in front of all of the doctors that treat them. And in the streets, with women, in the schools, every place where oppressions takes place, we do a forum theater, please. And then this is image theater. This is with indigenous women. I thank you. That's with indigenous women in Guatemala, in a region that is called Quiché. And I want you to tell me, what do you see here? Well, I have to say before that they are women, they are community leaders, they are very empowered. And when I came and asked, we are going to work about gender-based violence. So what are the violence that we experience? No, we don't experience violence. We are very empowered. We are community leaders. We are beyond that. Okay, so can you please make a scene of your domestic life, your day-to-day life? And they represent that. What does it mean? What do you see here? So there are 3 people watching other people work. Say, all the impressions are good. Who do you think that those people are? What? The men. Okay, so the men are watching the women working. What's about the levels? Lower down. What? Exactly. And so they showed us, they showed to all the group that, and actually they were working, and after working they were serving the food to the men. The men were eating, and when they were finished, they put the plate on the floor. The women came, took the plate, go to the knees, and start eating the leftovers. Okay? And that was the image that they create by themselves of their day-to-day life. And when all the group observed that, they say, we're like dogs. We look like dogs. And suddenly they became aware of their own situation through the image that they were creating by their own. They could look at themselves, even if they were very empowered community leaders, that they were living this situation of oppression, that they looked like dogs in their own house. We did invisible theater with a group of women. We have a women's network of theater of the oppressed. We work only on, in this network, only on gender-based violence against women. And we did invisible theater about sexual harassment in the streets. So we created this scene where a man was erasing one of us, and we really rehearsed different ways to react to that. What happens if we don't say anything? What happens if we react? What happens if we are more than one that react? What happens if we cry, if we scream? And that was our really very real way to investigate how to react to this big, big problem. Then with newspaper theater, it's interesting because we just came from working in Honduras in the international encounter of the pueblos for Berta Cáceres, and it's interesting because we were having the talk after it, and we were working through newspaper theater to also speak about what is not being told about all the Berta Cáceres problem. What's the fact? We did a theater piece with all the facts about all the mega projects of hydroelectrics and minery and intense agriculture, and all the theater piece was based with all the facts that newspapers say but don't say and try to hide, to denounce what was the problem with really the interest of getting Berta Cáceres out. And this one, it's an experience of legislative theater that we had with UNICEF, with this group of youth people getting proposals of what to do between the problem of youth and HIV in Guatemala. So they were the youth that we given proposals to the state, to the education and health departments of the state to have different strategies to fight against this problem. And with Rainbow of Desire, we work a lot with women to try to understand why do we silence, why we don't speak, why we accept realities that we know that they are unacceptable. But it's not because we are weak, it's not because we like it, it's because we have internalized lots of oppression that we have to understand and we have to analyze and we have to deconstruct to be able as well to react in a different way. And in concrete and ongoing social actions, we have one action that we did with the HIV group that was one woman was very discriminated because of her positive status, and we went all through the justice to have justice on this item, thing that they never did, that they feel that is impossible to do. So the whole group went to the judge and speak about that, and they got the woman to recognize that she was doing something wrong and to pay for it. And another one, it's here, it's what's happening now, and it's the engagement of the students that they are transforming in a concrete action, something that was starting as a static debate and as a class in Guatemala. They came here, they moved everything to come and making reality to have this debate in here because they believe that it's urgent and it's important to talk about racism in this university. So it's something that they did, very concrete. We have concrete stickers, concrete flyers, concrete rehearsals that we will have, concrete work that you put in to make this happen. And I believe with this push that it can be also just the beginning of many concrete actions that they can do for changing the situation of racism inside the university. We did many processes of multiplication. We did multiplications across Central America. We did a special multiplication with people with disabilities. And we are going to start a Latin American multiplication with HIV positive women. And in organization, we did, as Roy talked, we organized two big Latin American encounters and many festivals of theater of the oppressed, of different practitioners from all Latin America. And also, we have those links, for example, with migrants and organizations of women migrants in Mexico. So for ending, I just want to say that for us, theater of the oppressed is the theater of hope, okay? We believe that reality can be changed. We believe that reality can be better. We believe that our utopia can be reached. So that's why we go through this theater, okay? And for ending, this phrase of Boal that says that citizen is not who just live in society, is who transform it. So thank you very much.